Alright, hello, welcome. I just wanted to make this video as a way to quickly touch on my final trades of 2025, which were in very poor conditions, but more importantly, to just talk about some of the driving factors behind a lot of my sort of emotional tilting and day-to-day stress and pressures that come with trading. Because I feel like I have these days where I will, not only trade poorly, but I'll let that cascade and snowball into bigger and bigger mistakes, whereby I'm pushing and continuing to trade when my analysis is not in a great alignment with the market, when I am not very well focused or in control anymore, and I'm just trading for the sake of smashing buttons and being right or making myself feel better. And so I want to kind of set that as the theme throughout these 2 days of trade reviews, just to be really transparent and upfront about what I personally think are some issues regarding my trading as of now. I put a lot of pressure on myself, a lot of expectations. I think a lot about trading, and a lot of time obviously goes into trading, and work goes into trading. I think that's great, but I've also found that to have some pretty harmful effects if you're not careful. It's absolutely a double-edged sword there. And I've matured and I've grown through that over the past few years. I exercise regularly. I have other hobbies, other interests, things like that. But I feel like, especially recently, because I've become more dependent on trading, that this dynamic has really expanded. It's become much more of an issue. I'm struggling to find that balance, where I'm in a position where, I don't feel like I have to be trading every day, or I'm not so stressed and worried about what my performance is going to be like, et cetera, right? And I think that is the absolute most ideal headspace to be trading from, where like you don't really care what happens the next day. Maybe the next 100 trading days or 1,000 trading days, of course, right? But the next day you shouldn't care that much. Like, it's not a be-all end-all, and it's certainly not the next trade. And that's sort of what it's become for me, because I feel like, I'm really close to making some huge breakthroughs. I'm putting in all this time, all this effort. I see so many moving parts coming together, right, from years of work. I see a lot of little nuances and key parts of my analysis and my process really coming together and solidifying. And I'm thinking, oh my gosh, I'm so close. I'm so freaking close to making it. And really starting to make some serious money from this. And I genuinely believe I am. But with that comes this like incessant pressure, just unending, right? That's just like, this is the day. All right, you think you're gonna make it? You better show it. You better show it. You're the man. You're the man. You're the boss. You got this. You're the king. Ultra confidence, and it conflates that ego. It grows, and it starts to reach certain points of your psyche and the trading where it shouldn't be going. I struggle with that for sure. Man, yeah. So it's the sort of thing where having that confidence, feeling that close, feeling like you've got the market by the throat, like you've got trading by the throat in a sense. It can be a very good thing, because I genuinely do believe I have a lot of things really coming together nicely. But at the same time, you start putting that expectation or that pressure to perform every single day in a game where there is, especially at my stage, there is so much uncertainty, there's so much volatility. You're just asking to add so much additional pressure and stress to every single trade in a game that already has so much of that stress, right? So much of those expectations and nerves, anxiety, things like that, right? So I'm making it harder than it has to be. Absolutely, no question. And I think in doing so, it snowballs, it compounds, and it makes things worse. Because I make silly mistakes, I make stupid mistakes, and you're going to see that through my trades. And when I make those silly mistakes, which, yes, should I be working harder to avoid them? Can I avoid them more often? Absolutely. But do I also feel like, these things are going to happen even at the highest levels? And they're just a part of trading, a part of life? Absolutely. But where the beginner and the professional, where the real difference comes in, is in their reaction to those silly mistakes. And right now I'm getting so upset, so frustrated, so disturbed by those silly mistakes. And I let it bleed into the rest of the day. I let it affect my mood for my other trades. And then when I wake up the next day, I think about that. And it's just an extremely toxic, unhealthy way to live. And then I wonder, why do I have so much anxiety sometimes going into the trading day? Why do I feel so stressed, right? Because it's exacerbated by the fact that the market doesn't open for me until 10:30 p.m. So I'm kind of waiting for it, It's sitting there, right, until the very end of the day, which is fine. I make it work. I can be flexible. I have that luxury. I have that advantage. I'm very great. I have that luxury and advantage. Yeah, I'm grateful for that. But I have this constant gnawing, source of anxiety and stress about what's coming next. Oh, you better perform. You better do a good job. You better not make those mistakes. And when I make those mistakes, like say, here, this entry I shorted, reasonable, not horrible, not a horrible trade by any means. But yeah, waiting for a little bit more of that turn, that roll, and I get top ticked. It's so painful for me. I get so upset. And I'm twisted, I'm bothered, annoyed, I'm angry. And I do stuff like this, which is just like this is a trade that makes no sense. I know this. We're back testing this here. This is a horrible trade. This short here. And you'll see that on the 31st as well when I do get significantly more frustrated. And even on the day before Thanksgiving where it's like, you're making these mistakes and it's okay. And it explodes into something that's so much worse than what it could have originally been. And part of that, I think, as I was mentioning earlier, is like when you put all these pressures and these expectations on yourself, like, oh, I'm so close. This is it. I'm gonna perform. I'm gonna really get it. I'm gonna go in there and crush it. I'm gonna win the game. I'm gonna absolutely win this. This is gonna be awesome. And that doesn't really happen as well as you expected. It becomes a lot easier to go into tilt, revenge, rage mode, right? Where, like I was saying, I struggle to accept these small losing days, even these small winning days, or even these red days, right? These proper red days, where my read, my analysis is clearly not that well in tune with the market, and it's too painful for me to admit that I couldn't really, today's just not my day. I'll come back another day. I'll get him next time. I can't come to terms with that. It's just too painful because of all these expectations and the stresses, and then it's a huge letdown, and the losses are exacerbated 10x. It just becomes all that much more painful to deal with, that much more hurtful. So when that happens, and I can't accept that small day, or I can't accept that silly mistake, the 2-point loss, even just the 1 hour stop out, on a bit of a low quality trade, that's fine, that happens. And what does it do to me? I really start to freak out. I get very upset. I feel very heated and frustrated with myself. I start to talk bad about myself. I feel like I'm incompetent. I feel like I'm going further and further away from the sort of things that I need to be doing, and the ways in which I know I should and can trade. That's the frustrating part, is I know I can do that. Absolutely, there's no question. And because of that, because I start to feel that way and I get so hard on myself, it really starts to compound, and I start to do really bad stuff. I start to overtrade. I can't follow basic rules. I trade, I come back. I feel upset with myself the whole rest of the day. I feel unhappy, stressed, And then again, no wonder you have all this anxiety and apprehension going into the trading day. So, that is the gist of I feel like that is the underlying force behind most of what I'm currently dealing with at this stage in my trading, where I am very, very in tune with the market. I feel like I have a very good read of what's going on. I would say 75-80% of the time, and I'm able to maneuver myself around that. But it's these little habits, right? And I need to stack them. Stack that discipline. Stack 4 trades a day, right? 10-minute breaks. That's simple. There's 2 rules right there. 4 trades a day, 4 losses max, 10-minute breaks. And the only times I'm not able to follow that is when I make these stupid trades, these stupid mistakes, and then I let that mistake compound. I make it worse than it has to be, than it already is. And I take it so harshly, those little mistakes. Yeah, it's something I need to work at going into 2026. Something I have to help myself with. I have to focus on. So, just looking at this, is there anything else? Hold on, give me a sec. Is there anything else that I feel like I have to touch on regarding that? No, because I feel like that is the primary underlying force behind oh my gosh, a lot of these mistakes that you're seeing. So, trade 1, totally fine. No need to touch on that. Trade 2, I chased this candle momentum here. We kind of spiked up at the very end, and I chased it higher, even though what I was waiting for, and I absolutely knew, was this. All right, we don't quite close back inside here, right? This support here, and I wanted to see that sort of. Let me see if I can just start drawing. I wanted to see that sort of picture here, coming up. Right, and we have the higher lows there, right? And then it has to roll back down. That is so key, that right shoulder has to roll back down. There you go. Right, because we're not closing right back in, like here. And then once we get that wick there, then you can long. Gorgeous, right into resistance. And I was upset about this trade. I kind of already explained that. Didn't quite catch the roll of the momentum. And look, I'm trading on New Year's Eve, on the day before New Year's Eve, in the middle of Christmas. And I'm getting so upset about these things, like trying to force things when the market is trading at like a fourth of the average volume. It's like, what is wrong with you? What are you doing? What's the problem here? It's just, it doesn't make sense. It's not responsible. It's completely unprofessional. It's because you're putting all these pressures on yourself. No wonder you're blowing up. And this trade here is beautiful. You have this very clear consolidation. The big bar closes back in, all this liquidity here. Come back, test. That's your support, but you want to kind of get it on the top band. Comes in, tests there. That's a good long, right? see, hopefully it was continued recording, but in my eyes, this is an absolutely gorgeous long here. But I miss it, and I miss the long, and I'm upset, I miss this move, and I'm upset about these stupid mistakes, and I just take this short here. On pure, out of frustration, my head isn't there, I'm upset with myself, I'm frustrated, I can't bear the pain of these losses, and I just need to kind of kill it. And I take, it's a small loss, it's like 1.5 points, but again, unnecessary. Let's wrap this up here. Strong long, this is December 31st. I'm not focused this day. And this was a bad trade, but it's like a 1.5 point loss. Pure chop, trying to catch this breakout makes absolutely no sense. I mean, this is just like a very tight consolidation here, and you're logging at the top of it, where you should, in theory, be selling. But, I don't want to be trading this. This is garbage anyways. And I promised myself 2 trades today. All right, this is one of them. That's it. Be done. Oh, I have to get back. Oh, that didn't count. No, that counted. That was just that bad of a trade, right? Like 4 trades, 10-minute break. And I told myself today, it's the holiday, only 2 trades. So what am I gonna go do losing, my head on the day before New Year's, just going crazy trying to do this stuff. That's idiotic. It doesn't make any sense. And I'm done. I walk away for a split second, and then 4 minutes later, I'm back trying to catch this breakout, logging here, trying to catch this break here. Like, no higher low. We just broke low of day. It barely even broke out. What are you doing? And then we just roll again. I'm upset. And I remember this trade here kind of set me off. It's such a small loss. This is literally a 1 point loss. Like, I just gave back like 2.5 points in this move, and I didn't bat an eye. I take a 1 point loss and I freak out. So it's not because of the money or the P&L. It's because, this was a stupid mistake. And it is a silly mistake. It is. But you can't let that snowball and compound into issues that are, you can't let that make things even worse. These trades are completely avoidable. This long, again, I mean, this actually wasn't a bad trade. Neither of these two were. But they're not trades to be taking. You're done for the day. It's Christmas, it's New Year's Eve, like, be done. This is unnecessary. But yeah, I like this, The right there grabs this. It's okay, there's no momentum. And we had already broken out of a major consolidation, like bears were in control. I shorted here on Sim. Bears were in control. This was a great trade short, but I think this was a little bit of like a bull's last chance, especially here. We have that right, the higher low, very clearly, beautiful alignment. And we're sort of breaking out here, get a little bull spike, but never comes. And that's fine. We just, right? Because what's the like dominant structure? Yes, I see this, of course, but but the dominant structure here is the inverse cup, and we start forming that head, right, left, and we start rolling again, right? So cup, handle, right shoulder here, tapering over, and I'm longing on that right shoulder. I'm betting on this structure instead. This one fails, and we get that major kind of dominant inverse cup here. Once we get those nested, then that nested cup comes back, it retests the backside of the magenta, the red here, which is very gorgeous, and I short, we get that rollover. So anyways, that's the gist. I want to just make it very clear going to 26 that I'm absolutely confident that this is going to be a great year for me financially and in terms of my trading. I have to ask myself, why is it that I'm trading? And I think a lot of times where my head is at and my trading is wrong. It's just completely unsustainable. It's too much from a place of ego or to prove something to people in my life or some people on Discord. Like this is idiotic, and I'm trading from that headspace. It doesn't make sense. You have to be trading the market. You have to, again, why am I doing this? I'm doing this because I genuinely really love it. I think it can provide a meaningful sense of fulfillment and work in my life. It's the hardest thing I've ever tried to do. and I just feel like it's worth it, right? So when I spend all this time, all this work, and I come to the conclusion, okay, 4 trades, 10-minute breaks, very simple, and I'm not able to follow that, and I struggle with that on days like this. It's a rarity. It's not that common, but I struggle with that on days like this, and I think to myself, like, what's wrong with me? Then I think the underlying issue is, like, you just have a problem with respecting yourself, with loving yourself, with giving yourself that responsibility and discipline that is so obviously required to do this well. I need to have confidence. I have full belief and confidence in that. 10-minute breaks, 4 trades. And I know I will trade better. And the only times I don't do that are on days like this, where I have all these pressures, all these stresses, and I'm just getting so beat down, so upset with myself over these mistakes. So I'm done with that, going into 26 and just moving forward. I'm done with that. I'm going to be much better. I'm going to be much kinder to myself. I'm going to, of course, be working to be as focused and professional and calm as possible so that I limit these silly mistakes. But when they do happen, and you're there on the market and you're still trading, and just in general, relax. It's fine. This is hard. It's going to be okay. I have this standard of perfection for myself. I have this standard of absolute, complete, and utter perfection. And it's a horrible way to be trading. It really is a horrible way to be trading. Yeah. And when that standard isn't reached, which most of the time it's not, right? You have to be okay with mediocre days. You have to be okay with a small losing day, a small winning day. You have to be okay with silly mistakes. And when that standard's not reached, it's very painful for me, and I make it so much worse than it has to be. So let's stop that. Let's be kinder. Let's be more professional. Let's move on. Let's not take these things so harshly, and that's also going to help with the anxiety and the stress that's surrounding my trading, because I put all this pressure on it. Yeah. All right. Feeling good. Let's do it. I'm feeling good. Let's dance. Let's get it.